Have you ever wondered what the real cost of a luxury perfume is? Did you know that 90% of the cost of a perfume is marketing? A few years ago, I traveled to Grasse, France, where you will find the world's oldest perfumeries and learned all about the process of making the finest fragrances money can buy. While there, I had the opportunity to create my own perfume, and let me tell you, it was a lot harder than it looks. I've kept this bottle as a keepsake, but if I'm honest, what's on the inside smells like a bougie bottle of Febreze at best, and that's an understatement. So even though I'm never going to be a world-renowned perfumer, I can appreciate a stunningly complex and original fragrance when I smell it. But what I really want to know is, do you have to spend a fortune on a luxury perfume to experience an incredible fragrance? Today, I'm going to compare my favorite $300 perfume to its $40 dupe, and I'm also going to show you how I got over $10,000 worth of luxury perfumes for only $878. This is a $300 bottle of perfume. It's called Baccarat Rouge 540 and it's by Maison France's Kirk de Jean. This is a perfume called Sweven. It's by a brand called Okja and it was inspired by BR 540 and it's only $39.95. I first fell in love with BR 540 2.5 years ago when I was visiting family in New York. I was browsing the perfume squares in a Neiman Marcus and a saleswoman saw that I was very unimpressed with the selection that I was smelling. So she pulled me by the arm and told me that she has something very special for me that she wanted me to smell. And she brought me over to the Maison France's Kirk de Jean counter, which I have never heard before. That was the first time I've ever heard of that perfume house, let alone this perfume. I sprayed it on my skin and the rest is history. Now, BR 540 is one of those perfumes that when you smell it for the first time, it is so unique and so different that you don't really know how to feel about it until it really sinks into the skin and you allow it to develop over a few hours. I must admit, in the beginning, I did not understand why this perfume is so expensive, but as it sat on my skin throughout the day and I would get a whiff of it every time I would lift my wrist up to my nose, I just fell deeper and deeper in love with it. And the moment I came back to Toronto, I did a Google search to try to see if I could get my hands on this perfume in Canada. And at the time it wasn't available, but lo and behold, a little company called Oil Perfumery popped up in my search results. And I was very pleasantly surprised to find out that Oil Perfumery was a Toronto-based company and they specialized in making these rollerball oil perfumes, and all of their scents are inspired by luxury fragrances. So I instantly ordered their interpretation of Baccarat Rouge 540. And when I first tried it on my skin, I fell in love with it just as I fell in love with the original Baccarat Rouge 540. So I reached out to the brand and let them know that I loved what they were doing. And I was so excited to be able to re-experience BR 540, but not spending a fortune on the real deal. Having said that, I never really compared the two side by side. So even though to me the Oil Perfumery version does smell very, very similar to the original BR 540, I really want to do a in-depth investigation of the luxury version and the dupe version. So that's what this video is all about. I'm trying to figure out if it's really worth spending so much money on luxury perfumes or if you can really get the same fragrance in a much more affordable version. Now, since I discovered Oil Perfumery, they also came out with a sister brand called Okja. So I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to do this kind of a video because these are both eau de perfumes, and that way I would be comparing apples and apples and we can get some really good results. If you've never heard of Okja, it is a Toronto-based company that makes fragrances inspired by luxury perfumes such as BR 540. All of their fragrances are made in France by the same perfumeries used by many of these luxury fragrance houses, except they only cost $39.95 for what seems to be the same ingredients. So I added added up all of the perfumes on the Okja website as if they were the luxury versions. It was really hard to calculate the exact number because every perfume sold at a different volume and different price depending on which retailer you went to, but the approximate total added up to over $10,000. I also added up all of the Okja perfumes I own, and I own almost all of them, and the total came out to just under $900. So this is Okja's interpretation of BR540. It's called Sweven. I literally have like 10 bottles of these. I'm not exaggerating. I love it that much, and I use it very, very often. Not so much now because we are on lockdown, but before lockdown, I use this quite a lot. So I'm going to be testing these perfumes on several parameters. I'm going to go over price, packaging. I'm gonna do a paper test, a skin test. We're gonna talk about originality, power and radiance, longevity, and versatility. So let's talk about the notes for a second. So both BR540 and Sweven have the same notes across the board. So for the top notes, you're getting jasmine, saffron, orange, and marigold. For the heart notes, you're getting ambroxan and evernil. And for the base notes, you're getting cedarwood, ambergris, and fear balsam. So when you hear someone talking about perfume concentration, what they're referring to is the ratio of aromatic compounds to alcohol. Since most perfumes are alcohol-based, you want to go for an odor perfume or an extracted perfume if you're looking for a high-quality perfume that will have a long wear time. It was a little bit difficult to compare the price because you also have to take into consideration how much liquid you're getting in each bottle. So the Okja bottle has 30 ml, and the smallest size of the bottle perfume for the original BR540 is 70 ml. So the 30 ml Okja version goes for $39.95, and that's US dollars, and the BR540 goes for $300 US dollars. So if you're directly comparing the BR540 to the Sweven and you assume that there's 30 ml in here, it's probably gonna run you around $130 US dollars. So you're still saving a lot of money going with the Okja version. Okay, now let's talk about packaging. So the Maison Francis Kirk de Jean bottle came in this really luxurious, bougie looking packaging with this substantial cardboard box, and it has this beautiful gold embossing in it. The inner box slides out like so, and it has a little pamphlet card on the inside. So it is very high-end, very luxurious. The Okja box is also a very substantial cardboard box, but it is much smaller in scale in comparison to the BR540, but that's also because you're getting a smaller bottle. But honestly, I usually recycle my perfume boxes anyway, so for me, this is not such a big deal. I think it's more so for the experience rather than anything. But I can also respect that a lot of people appreciate when they spend a lot of money on a luxury item and it's beautifully packaged. Okay, so what I want to do now is a paper test. So I have 2 sheets of paper here. I'm going to spray the original BR540 on one and Sweven on the other, and I'm going to smell the two and see if I can smell a difference. So we're going to label this one BR540 and this one Sweven. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit for a couple of seconds. I also wanted to quickly talk about the bottles themselves because I think that's also a very important part of the entire display of these perfumes. So as you can see, the Okja perfume comes in a very sleek black packaging. The lid is made of plastic, so it's not as luxe, but for a $40 perfume, I think they did a really good job with the packaging. And I think with like a white marble tray display for your perfumes, this could be so chic. The BR540 bottle is obviously a lot more luxe. It comes in this beautiful clear glass bottle and it has a gold lid. The lid is very weighted, so it feels very luxe when you hold it. And I feel like the spray on this bottle is much better. The way that the perfume just comes out is a lot more fluid, and overall it just feels a lot smoother when you spray it. All right, so now I'm gonna do the paper test. I have my little bowl of beans that I can smell in between smelling each paper so I can clear my palette. So I'm first going to smell Sweven. Okay, and now I'm gonna smell BR 540. Okay, so right off the bat, Sweven to me smells a little bit stronger and also a little bit more citrusy. I can definitely smell more of the orange and marigold in Sweven right now. I can really smell that orange note. I feel with BR 540, the top notes are a little bit more blended together. But I have to say they're very, very close. Okay, so now for the ultimate test, I'm going to be doing the skin test. So I'm going to spray Sweven on my right wrist and I'm going to spray BR 540 on my left wrist. Okay, so I'm just gonna let that settle into my skin for a second. So before I smell my wrists, I want to give it about 5 to 15 minutes to settle into my skin. The reason why you want to do this is you want to give the perfume a chance to settle into your skin and mix with your body's natural oils. Within the first 15 minutes of spraying a fragrance, what you are smelling are mainly the top notes. Then once the fragrance starts to dry down and be broken down by your oils, you're going to start smelling the heart notes within 2 to 4 hours after spraying, and then 4 to 6 hours after spraying, you're going to be smelling mainly the base notes. So that's why you really can't judge a fragrance immediately after spraying it. You want to give it some time to dry down and settle in with your skin before really forming an opinion about any fragrance. I also want to note the time that I sprayed on the perfumes. It's 11:45. I want to do 2 check-ins today, so I'm going to do a check-in between 2 and 4 hours after I sprayed the perfumes, and also between 4 and 6 hours after, so I can really give you my feedback about what I smell for the top notes, base notes, and heart notes. So it's been about 5 minutes since I sprayed the perfumes on my wrist, so I'm going to go ahead and do a sniff test. So I'm going to start out with Sweven. Okay, so right off the bat, I still feel like even on my skin, I can smell more of the citrus element in Sweven than I can smell in BR 540. I'm gonna smell it again. I feel I can smell more of the jasmine right now in BR 540 and more of the orange in Sweven. But aside from what I'm smelling right off the bat, I feel like they're very, very similar. All right, so let's talk about originality. One of the things that really drew me to the original BR 540 is that it's one of those fragrances that is so unique and different. When I smell this perfume on somebody, I know right away that it's BR 540. It's very distinct, very unique. It's definitely not one of those perfumes that smells like any other perfume. You know the ones I'm talking about, like the watered down ones that have that like fresh ocean scent. I've smelled that a dozen times and they are just so similar that it's like a turnoff for me. So one of the things that really drew me to BR 540 is how different it is. It really surprises you and it's very, very distinct. The next thing I wanted to talk about is power and radiance. So what I mean about power and radiance is if a fragrance is sharp or enveloping. A sharp fragrance is something that kind of catches you by surprise when you first smell it, and usually it's very unpleasant. From my personal experience, a good example of a sharp fragrance could be like a citrus, but something that is very overpowering that it's really hard to smell any of the other notes in a fragrance. A good example of notes that are more enveloping are musks and vanillas. It's something that lingers and kind of like melts all of the notes together, if you know what what I mean? So when I think of sharp, I think of notes that really stick out in a fragrance that I can really pick out by smelling it. When something is enveloping, it kind of like all blends together and it's kind of hard to pick out particular notes in the fragrance. So the way that I would describe BR 540 is probably more enveloping. The notes are so beautifully blended together, and the way that they complement each other in a very surprising way is unlike anything that I have ever experienced before. I feel like right off the bat, the top notes are definitely slightly more sharp in the Sweven version. They're more blended and enveloping in the BR 540 version. But I would definitely not describe it as like a power fragrance. It's not something that like hits you in the face and is very unpleasant. In my opinion, I feel like it's more of a radiant fragrance. So before I go about my day and come back with my check-ins, I quickly wanted to talk about versatility. Okay, so when it comes to the versatility of BR 540 or Oakja Sweven, this is how I would describe it. It's an all year round fragrance that you can wear throughout the seasons, but I think that I would be more likely to wear it in the evening or for special occasions. It is more of a sexy female perfume, but it's definitely not delicate. I would also say that it is more young and cool rather than mature. And it's definitely more of an avant-garde perfume that's unusual and unexpected. So both of these perfumes are eau de perfumes. Wanted to make sure that I was comparing apples to apples in this test. So that's why I went ahead and got the eau de perfume version of Baccarat Rouge 540. It's also available in the Extract de Perfume, which is a stronger version of this and comes in a red bottle. And that one has 30 to 40% aromatic compounds. All right, so that's all I wanted to cover in this little bit. I also want to come back to you and talk about longevity and see what the dry down is like for these two. So that's why I'm going to be doing a couple check-ins throughout the day so I can give you my honest feedback about that. All right, so I'm going to do my first check-in because I am waiting for my friend. I have my baby girl in the car with me because we're about to go on a socially distanced walk with her and her baby. Bless you, my love. Of course, we're wearing masks to stay protected. Yeah, she's running behind, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to do my first check-in now because it's been a little bit over 2 hours since I sprayed the perfume. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a sniff test. Okay, so that was BR 540. And that was Sweven. I'm gonna do it the other way around now. Okay, honestly guys, now that it's dried down, it's so hard to tell the difference. They smell almost identical to me. And if anything, I can actually smell Sweven even more on me. That's nuts. I literally cannot tell the difference. Okay, so I wanted to sit down and do my last check-in for the day because it has been like 3 hours since I did my last check-in and about 5 hours, a little bit more than 5 hours since I initially sprayed the fragrances to my wrists. And I wanted to give you my honest, genuine reaction. So here we go. So I'm smelling Sweven now. And this is BR 540. I'm taking a while to really take my time and smell the two because it is so hard for me to tell the difference, and that is shocking to me because in the beginning there was a distinction. I could definitely smell more of the top notes With Sweven, that orange and that marigold really stuck out to me, whereas I felt like when I first sprayed BR540, it smelled a lot more blended, if that makes any sense. So I thought that as I wore it throughout the day and it mixed with my oils, I would be able to tell the difference a lot more. But I feel like as the day progressed, I noticed less and less of a difference. And in terms of longevity, I feel like they both have the same intensity at this point. I don't feel like one is stronger than the other. They both kind of faded and broke down in the same way, which is crazy considering how much more expensive this one is. So of course, I haven't done this test with all of the perfumes on the Okja website. I've only done it with BR540 because I have the luxury version and I have the dupe. So I can't say the same thing for the other fragrances on the Okja website, but I'm really glad I did this test. And I'm really glad that I went out and got the original BR540 because now I know that it's probably not worth spending a fortune on a luxury fragrance, considering you can pretty much get the same thing for a fraction of the cost if you know where to look. So I'm gonna leave all of Okja's information in my description box down below. I purely just made this video for my own research purposes, so I really hope that you guys will find this helpful. If any of you own the real BR540 and you're interested in checking out the Okja dupe, let me know in the comments if you do this test yourself and if you had the same findings as I did, because I would be really fascinated to know. So the next day after filming this, I reached out to Okja, told them about my video, and they so generously wanted to offer my subscribers 15% off the Okja site and their sister site, Oil Perfumery, using the code Niki Sky 15. They also offered to do a giveaway, so we're going to be giving away 15 Okja perfumes plus Sweven and an Oil Perfumery rollerball of BR540, a total value of $650 to one lucky winner. To enter, all you have to do is follow me on Instagram and leave a comment on my Perfume Hacks reel. In your comment, make sure you tag 2 of your friends who you would love to share this giveaway with. I'll leave all of the information in my description box too. So that was it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. I'm going to sign off now because my baby girl is going to wake up from her nap very soon. If you haven't already, it would mean so much to me if you could subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought about this video. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next one.